In this video, we're going to talk about an important component in the document understanding framework, which is document classification. So, what exactly is document classification? It plays a vital role of the document understanding framework as it helps us to identify the types of files that robot is processing. Firstly, let's see how it works. A file can be classified into one or more document types depending on its content and its classification methods used. There are two different scenarios. Scenario 1: if a file contains a single logical document type, such as an invoice or a medical record, the classification component should be configured accordingly. It will then return a single classification result. Scenario 2: if a file contains multiple logical document types, it becomes a bit more complex. For example, it could have an invoice from page 1 to page 5 and the medical record from page 6 to page 15. So in that case, classification component should return multiple classification results, which is with each result corresponding to the right page range from the input file. And one more important point here to note is that document types on which classification is attempted are defined in the project's taxonomy. So the classification result is will be according to the specific document types relevant to that project. Now let's see when to use classification. As I previously mentioned, if your project primarily involves in single document type, like from page 1 to page end, it is invoice, just an invoice. In that case, we don't need a classification since we know that there is only one type of document. However, in the other scenario, where we have from page 1 to page 3, we have invoice, and then from there we have a different type. In that case, we definitely need to use document classification. Mainly, these are the classifiers that are available currently. Keyword-based classifier, as the name suggests, the classification will depend on the keyword. For example, if your document have an invoice, the heading will be like an invoice. So it will search for that keyword and then it will decide that it is an invoice. Intelligent keyword based classifier, it is like a set of keywords. Here it will take only single or few keywords. Here it will be like vector of keywords. For example, if you give invoice, there might be few elements like invoice number, invoice date. So those items will be taken as a vector, and then it will search for that vector. And then flexi capture classifier and ML classifier, these are like ML classifier, it needs AI center. Sometimes it will use a ML model to classify the document. So this is the table where you can see like where the classifier will be available, and when does it fit well, and is it returnable or not. You can find this in UiPath documents. I'll share the link in the description. Before seeing classification in action, so let's see how we do the classification. So after digitize, we'll have the digitize output. Now we have to classify, we have to decide what is the type of the document. So in our use case, if you remember, we have two types. One is vehicle damage report and another one is form 104X. So let's see how we do that. So firstly, we take the output of digitize. There are three activities, like we first have to classify, and then we have to give that classification results to human to validate, and then based on the result it will train again, and then this process repeats. For these three, we have three different types of actions or three different types of activities that we'll see in the demo. So now let's see classification in action. So until here you have the code in the GitHub. So we have done the digitization, so we'll have the digital version of the document. So now we'll see the classification. So go to activities, and here if you search for classifier, you see different activities. So first one, so under document understanding, we see classify document scope. So we have to classify first, and then we have to present that results to human. So that will be for that we use present classification station, and then based on the results, we retrain our classifier. These were the three activities that we'll use. So firstly, classify document scope. So these are common parameters. So first one will be current item, which will have the document path, then our taxonomy, then the document text, and the document object model output of digitize. And then here we have to create a new variable. So I already have one document classification results. So until Here I think it is clear. So now we have to drop a classifier. Now let's see available classifiers. So these are the classifiers. So now for our case, we said we use intelligent keyword classifier. It depends on your need. If your document is more unstructured, you can also use ML classifier. And this one is a new one where it uses the generative AI part of the model. So now we use keyword classifier. So we'll have two activities, but don't be confused with this. So to classify the document, we use keyword classifier. To retrain the classified document, we use classified trainer. So we use keyword classifier here. And let's see the parameters. So API key, we already created the variable. So let's pass that. Endpoint, it will remain same. And the important part here is like creating a learning file. So initially it will be empty because we don't have any vectors. So we have to create our own file. I mean, we have to create our own JSON file, an empty file. Initially it will be empty. Once you run the bot, it will fill with the vectors. So let's see what it takes. It takes a JSON file. Let's create a JSON file, an empty JSON file. So I'm creating in document processing. This document, it will be keywords. Keyword classifier. I'm saving it as .json. Now we can get the text document. Now we have this keyword classifier. Initially it will be empty as I said. Now let's fix that file here. So now we gave the JSON file also. We gave the endpoint. We gave the API key. Now we have to create the vectors. Click on manage learning. So here are the two types. You might wonder like how intelligent keyword classifier got these two types. So these came from the taxonomy that we created earlier. In the taxonomy we created two types, right? So those are the two types. So firstly we have form 1040X and then vehicle damage report. Let's start training for this one. Click on start training. Select the document. So first one is form. So select form. And you can if you need more accuracy, I mean if you need more accuracy in classification, you can train with more set of files. So currently I'm training with only one, and we need an API key. So it already got from the variable that we created earlier, and click on start training. Initially we saw that the JSON file is empty, right? So now we'll see the vectors filled in. It will take some time. Now if you open this, here you see the word vector. So these were the common words that it found in that document to decide it's a form. And now same thing for vehicle damage report. Click on start training. So this also done. So these are the vectors for vehicle damage report. Click on save. So now these words will be saved in that JSON file. If I open that, we created right this one. Now if you see, it will have all the word vectors. So until here it is clear, right? So we created keyword classifier and then we manage the learning. And now we configure the classifiers. Click on configure. Just select these. So these were two classifiers that we're going to configure. Click on save. And that's it. We're done for classified document scope. Just add log message here. This will be the initial classification.